You know? We're recording now, I believe, though. I think.
Yes, we are, because
Okay,
the
perfect.
little light just turned on.
Perfect. All right. So this is conversation number 6. There you go. Um, so little update as we usually start these. I'm waiting on last piece of hardware for me to figure out how to do in person a little bit better with wireless mics and stuff like that. So I got the wireless mics, I got all that. So the last piece of hardware is apparently will allow me to plug it directly into the 360 camera to use. So then the wireless mics will connect to the 360 camera video, so I don't have to actually have another file and figure out how to sync it.
Okay.
Apparently, it's coming by 8 p.m. tonight, so we'll see. Yeah, and outside of that,
This is going to be a stupid question. You guys have Amazon still, right?
oh yeah, we do still.
Okay.
But again, I don't know how it's going in the States with Amazon. The 2-day deliveries haven't been as consistent as they used to be.
No, mine haven't been since I've lived in St. Louis, but
Yeah, so because they haven't been as consistent, I actually canceled my Prime membership so that I think around June I won't have Prime anymore because I paid for it for the 2 day, right? And some things have been 4 or 5 days, and I think it's like 5 or 6 days normally. And if you do it above $35, it still falls under the 2 day thing or something like that. I have no idea. So I just figured I'll cancel it and figure it out from there.
yeah, I didn't know. One, I didn't know how big Amazon was in Canada. I assumed big because
Oh, yeah,
it's Amazon.
it's I think it's most places anyway. I don't know how rural. My parents live on a farm; they get it, but I don't know if it's not considered rural anymore because now they have subdivisions there too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought you said it developed a lot more in the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
a lot more than it was. Um, you know what? I did want to touch on your buddy, the Instagram thing you sent me with your buddy, the black guy lifting that heavy weight. How much does he weigh? I didn't even check that.
He weighed in at I think it was 91.3 kilos, so like
200?
201 pounds basically.
Yeah, around 200, right?
Yeah,
91.
yeah. The
So,
weight class is 93.
and he was squatting like something ridiculous.
716 for his last one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he is an animal.
Yeah.
I mean,
And does
third in the
he?
nation and 900 kilo total. So,
You say he's third in the nation?
yep,
What's his name? You may as well say it.
Dominique Fuqua.
Okay. Last name. Where is he American or is he came from overseas or?
American family is Creole.
Oh, there you go. And where is that? Where's Creole from?
It's like the French southern area of the United States. So, like Louisiana,
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Alabama-esque
For
area.
in my head, I was thinking, what's the island in the Caribbean where they speak French? I was thinking that in my head for some reason.
Okay. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even going to try to guess.
I'm not sure. That's what I'm not saying either. I'm not sure
Yeah,
either. But yeah, so he does squat. That's wild. And he has no like back issues or anything.
not anymore.
Yeah. So he just
He had
like sorted
he
them
had
out.
some back and some hip stuff from football, but
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All those
yeah,
hits.
it's been getting better across the years.
Yeah.
Like as he's been powerlifting and crazy.
Yeah.
He is a crazy athlete.
Are you training him, or are you like just you go back and forth with stuff? Because I know
No,
you used to go that heavy too. So
no, he's one of my good friends. I coached him for a little bit. We also ran a powerlifting team in San Diego together.
well, I want to see. I didn't even know we are gonna talk about this. Tell me how a powerlifting team is like run. Because in Canada, where I lived, I did not get to experience like weightlifting like you did in the States, where it's part of school or it's like there's lifting leagues. Like I wasn't even aware of what I
So
was.
I didn't do any of them through school.
Okay.
All my well, like football, like in high school and everything, made us lift. Wrestling made us lift, but like nothing too crazy.
Okay.
No, post COVID, him and I left 24 Hour Fitness and then started just building up a powerlifting team. Most of the team ran one program and like they'd come in during set hours and
Mm,
we coach them as they go. So
that's really cool. Hey, again, I guess I never even thought about looking for any of that. I just went to like the local gym and I just tried what I saw on YouTube. Like, oh, that's
yeah,
cool. Let me give it a go. And would tweak my back here and there, but like I always would try with my friggin' I'm just all limbs. I think the max I got for bench was 315. I didn't really chase anything beyond that. My deadlift was max. I think I was trying to get to 500, and I got to like 465. And I had this one guy who was working on my body trying to fix me, and he's like, "Show me how you deadlift." And I couldn't lift as heavy anymore, but I deadlift. He's like, "Is that how you deadlift?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, You just lifted that whole thing up with your back. Because like on the farm, I didn't know. I was just like, you just lift stuff up, right? So I was just kind of he's like, if you lifted properly, you probably could have done 600 easy. I'm like, oh, well, what do I
You're
know?
like, well, now I'm old, broken, and my hips don't work.
Exactly.
So
That's not going to happen. Well, you never know. 600 is actually, compared to a lot of people's size to weight wise, 600 is not a lot in the world of powerlifting. Yeah. But like in my world, it's a lot.
yeah,
And then
no,
what
like
was,
like Dom did 782 for his last attempt deadlift.
and for his size, how tall is he?
5'11",
Okay. So, all
little
right.
taller than me. I don't think
Okay.
he's 6 foot.
Yeah, well, from the pictures, I couldn't tell because like there's so many beasts in that sport, right? So,
It also doesn't help that if you scroll through those pictures, the first place guy is real short. So like on the podium, him and Dom are the same height. So it does
I
not
just saw
help.
the lifts. I just saw the lifts, and then that's what I was focused on.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really cool. That's really cool, though.
So
So
speaking of your back and hips,
yeah, so the
how are they
12,
going? How's everything?
it's actually progressing the right direction. So that 12-minute foundational routine that I gave you to try, I don't know if you ever tried it again, but
Tried it one more time.
yeah, how did that go?
I want to try it again once I'm done with this bike ride and like I can
Yeah,
give my
yeah,
back a little bit of time. Because like it was, my back was already a little flared and doing it. I was like, I'm good. No,
yeah.
not doing this. Let me go do the things that I know like help
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Again, it's one of those things like this is more of a rehab kind of workout routine, right, than an actual workout routine. So it's not gonna feel like it's not gonna feel nice,
Yeah.
right? Especially when it's forcing you to like hold and build tension in the fascia, and it's a little like it doesn't feel like it's muscle. It feels very different to me when I'm doing it than like a muscle
Hmm.
tightness, right, or muscle like strain of them. You know what I mean? But going for that, I've been doing it about I would say on average every other day. Sometimes it's more in a row, sometimes a little bit more break in a row. For about I think it's been 2 months now, maybe two and
That
a half,
sounds all right.
2 months, 2.5 months, and my pain has gone down a lot. But it was like hitting a roadblock. So I started incorporating the knees over toes guy, and I guess there's another account called Low Back Ability or something like that.
Okay.
And both of them talk about using the not leg extension, the back extension machine, where it's not a machine, but you put yourself in there, you kind of like go up and down. So they talk about just holding your body up in that and building endurance again with their spine erectors and along those lines. So I was doing this plane of motion for a while, but again going through different physiotherapies and stuff. I really think my QL muscle, quadratus labrorum, that muscle is messed up completely. As in, it's just locked and tight, and it won't let me actually have any lateral flexion. So when I was trying about like half a year ago using the backstick machine and doing all these holds and whatever, I couldn't even hold myself up sideways like just holding myself aside. So then I would hold myself up, and with my hand, as I hold myself, there would be a release of tension on I think the QL and the erectors, and my spine would literally just pop, 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 pop. And then I would try to move because it's all loose now. The muscles wouldn't even like want to fire properly. Now I can actually go sideways on the back extension machine and go up and down. So that has been great for this last week is when it just kind of clicked together. I should try to bring that movement back. And my pain has been just like muscle and hip soreness because like these muscles just haven't been working it forever properly. So I went to osteo on Monday and he did some things too. And I'm like from Monday until like Wednesday or it was Friday, Monday till like Thursday, minimal. They just went for walks. That's all I could do.
But I mean, if you're also letting your QL like finally relax and you're getting that like lateral flexion, your walking has to feel different.
It feels very different. It feels like I feel like I'm relearning how to walk in a way because like my gait is different.
Oh, for sure.
I think I was taking too long strides naturally to compensate to keep my speed up. Now I was so sore, my gait's a little bit slower, but the best way I can put it is like when I was walking before, I feel like I was kicking my leg out and trying to reach too far with my foot to walk. Now
Hmm.
when I'm walking, I'm kicking back properly.
So you're actually getting like a push forward versus a pull
Yes.
forward.
Instead of like thump thump stop like a break each time, more like I guess pulling. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, because like my goal is to reduce my physical pain and ability as much as I can, like I told you before October, so I can come to St. Louis and
Yeah, we
actually
can go to the art museum.
art. Yeah, basically, I'm gonna get in shape just to go to the art museum. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Um.
And
Yeah. You know what? You're
all
gonna
your
have to do
fun.
some research for me because art museum, and then we have like the ROM. I forget what that stands for. Some Ontario museum. It's more not art, but like they have dinos there, so that's good. Dinosaurs.
I think dinosaurs would be our science center.
There you go. Do you guys have like an adult night where there's like a like walk around with drinks and music and it's just mainly just for adults? Because
Probably.
they have that in Toronto and it's one of those things I haven't done yet and I really want to go do. So I'm like, yeah.
I would assume so because I know. Okay, so City Museum is its own unique thing, not technically a like St. Louis museum. It's its own
Yeah.
like they do an adult night. So I would assume some of the others do, but I don't know. I've never really looked into it. My wife doesn't
Hey, I
drink.
thought
I
you were
don't
gonna take
really
your
drink,
wife
so
out for a night out, something different. So you never know. So
she doesn't drink. So
well, you don't have to drink when you go there, but it's like it's sometimes more fun to like not have children yelling.
I don't know if I've ever seen a child at the art museum.
Really?
I don't think so. At
Because
least
even
not
when
when
I
my
went,
wife and I have gone.
oh, because even when I went to Toronto on the Art Gallery Ontario in Toronto, there was definitely kids there too. So that's why.
I mean, our art museum is also right next to the zoo. So like,
There you go.
if you're gonna pick one or two or one or
With,
the
with,
other to go with the
with kids,
children,
yeah,
you're just gonna go to the zoo.
that works. That works. Yeah, yeah. I just thought maybe like you and the wife might have went to some of these things. It'll be pretty fun to do, right? So
I mean, that. See, now I'm gonna have to look these things up,
yeah,
and
I'm
maybe
gonna just
we'll
give
go.
you ideas, man, because I get bored of staying at home. So I'm like, oh, what's going on?
I have told multiple clients about your what is that app? Your Eventbrite thing, where you're like, let's see what's going on, and like
Yeah,
I've had a couple clients say that they started implementing that.
really.
Yeah, they're
See,
just like,
that's
all right,
cool.
cool. Let's see.
You know what's funny? Talking on that, so jumped on the call yesterday with Eric, and he was talking about because his coaching and everything like that, and just chatting with people, and we both said the same thing. And I basically brought up like it's interesting because when people come to you're just chatting with people, sometimes friends, sometimes strangers, and you're just having fun in the moment, and they ask you a question, you just try to respond, being present in the moment, and you've talked to me enough now, like I basically just kind of joke around and try to make people like throw some humor into it, right? So when I do that, I don't realize sometimes the thing I'm saying has any value because I think the joke's more funny, right? So, but you understand what I'm getting at? Like in the moment,
Yeah,
like I'm just having fun, right? Like you shooting this, like the whole reason I want to do these conversations is I don't really want to talk about work. I don't really want to talk about the day to day monotonous things that people talk about. I actually want to do kind of like the small talk, but can I dive into the small talk? Right? Instead of it always having to be serious, because sometimes the gems and the fun things that come up from the small talk, where you just kind of say whatever, is a lot deeper than you think, right? So, because a lot of people in the group they like the deep talk, and I enjoy that as well. But because
hmm
now I'm getting so much of that in the group, it's fun having the, hi, let's talk about anime, let's talk about this, let's talk about whatever,
yeah.
right? So, it's interesting.
Also, they all have their place.
Yeah, they all do. I don't think you should. Yeah, the absence of small talk. Like I know some people say I hate small talk. I'm like I don't know. Small talk kind of is entertaining at times because
Yeah,
it's not
and like it can
serious.
also be what builds the idea later.
Yeah, like how is anime with you and me talking about that ever going to be deep talk?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but then the topics that come up in there sometimes are a little deeper. But like it's cartoons.
yeah, and like especially the last time we talked about solo leveling, it is a power fantasy anime. Like
Oh yeah, there's like
it
it's just
is.
about
Let's hype him up, get him as physically strong as possible, and
yeah.
like
It's like
he'll always
basically
be OP.
yeah, it's basically it's just for gym rats. It's
Yeah,
for dudes. It's
yeah,
like, oh, you know what? I could just keep on like grinding and working harder, and I can keep on improving. It's literally just for dudes that just like want to go to the gym or
yeah.
that want to like.
That's also why like I haven't decided if I'm gonna read it or not because I like it's a simple story. I
Yeah,
like that I can like just sit down, watch it, and just enjoy.
it's one of those things that the manga is so good that it's hard to put down, so it'll take up a lot of your time. No, but I actually had to I was going crazy with audiobooks for a while. I had to stop because I'm like I was enjoying it so much because I do enjoy like the different perspectives on various
Mhm.
topics, and I'm like I need to like bring back some like fiction in my life, and that's where like outside of like I shared with you manga helping me to read again.
Yeah.
Uh, I just enjoyed that it was fiction, right? It's not real. Like there's no I don't have to apply this to anything, right?
Yeah. And I think
Other
that's
than
good for the brain.
yeah, especially like some of the outside of like this OP kind of stuff, like outside of these kind of animes, some of the mangas, whatever, are just really like thoughtful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like there's
and
big themes in a lot of them.
yeah, I sent you one a while ago. There's one from China coming out that's supposed to be really good. Has it come out yet? The not
I don't,
Arcane.
it, no, it begins at the end.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
but yeah,
think
yeah.
it comes out next week.
Okay, so the beginning and the end. If there's going to be an anime of that, that's another one where the manga is really really good, very
Mhm.
detailed. It's like they're in like the 200s plus, right?
Wow. Okay. So they got plenty to make
Yeah,
into
and
something.
it's one of those ones, like I said, more magic based over just system based. And people are gonna listen to us, and I make these clips, are like, what the fuck are these retards talking? So
What does system based mean?
yeah, yeah, and then you're gonna go back to your coaching people and everything, and I'm gonna be like going back to my school books of business insurance. We're talking about it.
You're like,
Yeah,
they talk about
nice
weird things
meeting.
that don't connect to anything.
Yeah, they don't
And
connect
it's
to
like,
anything.
oh, it's all connected. You guys don't understand.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that I haven't even messaged Brian if he actually watched anything yet. He probably didn't.
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in about like a week or so.
Yeah, I haven't had a chat with him for a bit. I've been sending memes back and forth with you, but I haven't had a chat with him
Yeah.
for so. What was the other thing that was on? What was there was one topic that we put sent to each other, and it was like this would be a good thing just to chat.
What happens if like the whole fake it till you make it thing goes too far and then you just end up being a character?
And I don't remember what I said. That's the thing. Like fuck, what did I say? And obviously, I'm not going to find it now because I don't even know how I sent it to you.
No, I don't. I can't even remember if it was Instagram or text, so I can't even point you in the right direction.
It is Instagram, but it's one of those things that like, do I know what I named it? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, fake it until you make it. Mm, I don't remember. Do you remember what I said? No.
I remember like we talked about it for like
Because
probably
like
15, 20.
you had an insight too, and I had something, and then we said like, okay, we got to write this down for later on, where we can actually discuss it on video or even just a phone call between us, right? It's one of those things that we got to get better organized at that, so we have topics. Because there's certain topics like I'd rather talk to you on video without texting because texting, like, I'm like, wait a second, no. I would like to like
Yeah.
have something kind of in the moment where even if I mess up, at least it's in the moment and it's like honest, right? Yeah. Fake it till you make it. I wonder where did that originate from? Was that from like another conversation?
I think it was from another conversation. So I wrote it down that day and I just left it on the desk that I have all my stuff on right now. But I didn't write extra notes about it. I was like, fake it till you make it, something about a character.
Something about a character.
Yeah, like if you take it too far, you're not actually making it. You're just becoming a character of
Was it
what you
something?
wanted, I
Was it
guess.
something along the lines of if you fake it till you make it the whole time through? How do you know it's something you actually want?
No, but I would like to hear you expand on that idea.
I just am pulling think straws out or whatever strings from the air, pulling ideas from the air.
You're like, that might
Yeah.
work.
I mean, would this work? Let's okay. You know what? Let's try to steal me into argument for fun. Okay. So you start a new endeavor, and you are seeing the people in front of you that are very successful. Okay, and you obviously don't have enough knowledge or history to be at their level, right? So you adopt the fake it till you make it. Okay, you try to emulate them in how they talk. You dress like the people that are successful in that industry. You maybe also try to get a car and things to show that you're successful in that industry, peacocking or like keeping up with the Joneses in a way in that industry. And then you get there. Now, let's say you get there and you're successful. One thing can happen is like, you know what, I'm successful. It proved that faking it till I make it would allow me to get where I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
But other side of it is like you are always emulating somebody else the whole way. How much of yourself did you give up on the way? And I'm making this up on, as I go right now because like I just pulled that out of my head. What do you think about that, Steelman, for that counterpoint to the everybody says fake it till you make it? What's
Yeah.
the counterpoint to that?
I mean, that it does come down to like just from the one note that I have, like it then you become a character of what you wanted. But like how do
So,
you know
so
that's
I want you to expand on that but take it a little bit back. Make a. I understand the end point. You become a character of what you want, but
Mhm.
so I said that. What's the journey to just becoming the character, not the more of yourself? Like, because like we both don't know the future, right? So we both don't know who we're going to be in the future, right? So how do we know that's not who we're going to be? How do we know we lost ourselves along the way? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess if you just there has to be a point during that where like if you don't feel like you're still authentically being you, you've lost yourself. How do you really determine what is you being authentic and what is you faking it after a certain point?
Have you been through that ever in life, or have you kind of always like, oh, this is not for me anymore, and I just kind of pivot to, no, this is more resonating with me now? Or did you kind of, when you're younger, ever like kind of just go with it? Like, I know at work for like, because it was my main income source, you have to kind of like, you have to conform to the
Hmm.
industry you're in, right? And I think that's everybody has to. That's not like I don't think it's a bad thing. But at what point do you think you are giving yourself away, if it ever happened to you?
So I can happily say it's not truly ever happened. Like I know growing up there was times I'd be like, I think I want to try to change my style and like go more this direction and then do it for a little bit and be like, this I don't like this.
Yeah, and I think
So
I'm
like
the same way. Like,
yeah.
I resonate with that. I think I'm the same way because like I've tried a lot of things. Like like Eventbrite. I just said I'm going to try something new. Like I don't even know. I'm like, oh, let's start the board. Let's try. But it doesn't mean you have to stick to it.
Yeah. And
I'm
then like
trying to think. Sorry.
happily the fitness industry does allow you to kind of stay an individual. Like even if you're working in like a box
Okay.
gym, like they still want you to like be you. So
Okay. And
happily
you know
haven't
what?
had to deal with it too much.
I gotta say that's probably because I know some people in fitness they kind of conform to the gym.
Okay.
Right. So I think that's a lucky thing for you because I know some people that conform to the gym. Again, like what if you're really hard up on money and you need to conform just to get by? Like I will never fault a person for that, right? Because like we all have to get by. But
And then like your profession, like you were a cop.
yeah,
You kind of there's kind of a certain level of this is kind of what you need to be.
yeah.
Oh,
For the longest time, I was actually not going to get any tattoos below here because outside of policing too, I'm like, if I wear a collared shirt, I always roll the sleeves up to about here. So like, that's as far as I'm gonna go, and that has kept it going. But I agree. Like,
yeah, no, I started on the
you started
forum,
there.
so yeah, I started on the forum.
When did you get that?
That was 21, 22,
And you're what now?
2,
There you go. 10 years
32.
into that.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
yeah.
All right. You're gonna have
Had
fun
to
in this
think about
next
that for a minute.
decade. See this next decade for you. That's basically all PTSD for me.
Well, buddy, I promise you I will work on doing better than that then.
You will definitely do better than that because I won't let you go down that fucking hole. Fuck.
Oh, man, you dealt with it for about 10 years?
Yeah. Well, obviously undiagnosed in the beginning, right? So
Well, yeah, of course. I don't know if I realized it was that long. I mean, it was like multiple years, of course, but
basically 2014 to 2024 would be the
that's rough.
2014, 2025, 2015, 20, yeah, this is a 10-year mark right now. Yeah.
Dang, okay.
Yeah. And there's obviously stuff happened beforehand as well, but then like a lot of things compounded, right? And then
Yeah.
isolation and dealing with other stuff too, right? So, but that's too heavy for this. So that was
Well, it
okay.
might be too heavy for this, but if 10 years ago a version of you looked at you now, how surprised do you think he would be?
I think the only surprising thing that would be is like not being in policing anymore.
Oh, yeah?
I think everything else, because I was doing a lot of things outside, like side hustles and things like that along the way, and I was going to keep on doing that. I wouldn't have stopped.
Okay.
I think the
Wait,
big
so were you
difference.
already doing the billboards?
So no, that's so basically I was doing real estate investing. Then I got my mortgage license, and then it started a startup with friends, and that's pivoting right now. Billboards is recent. Again, still learning and growing. It's like none of these things are going to be. It's like, hey, it's a jackpot, right? It's learning and going, right? That's entrepreneurship, right? And then now business insurance, and I also have a license in private equity. So I did a lot of education about money in general, just so I knew it better. And now, if I ever come into money, I better know what to do with it. Like like before, I had one lever to pull. That was invest in real estate, right?
Mhm.
Which is still one of the good levers to pull because I understand that very well. But now I have like three or four other levers to pull where like, oh, this doesn't have to only go into this. It can go into this endeavor. And then my exams for this first semester are next week. After that, I want to take it upon myself for the future of business insurance and mortgages and other endeavors. I want to learn how to leverage artificial intelligence with automations. Like not like how to build. I don't want to know how to build it. Not that smart.
Yeah. Like I
I just
want
want
it
to
to do these parts for me.
Yeah, just like I want to leverage the technology and software that's coming out to streamline certain aspects of the business that are more monotonous.
Hmm.
Twofold. One, I think it's just cool to learn this stuff. The other flip side is that, first of all, I don't think I'll ever have a regression with PTSD. I really don't. Like, that's how I truly feel at this point. Worst case scenario, let's say that happens. So if I can automate certain processes so that, hey, maybe today I don't need to go 100%. Maybe I can go 20% for a week or two and sort some things out. And the business is
That makes
running at
sense.
150% still because I automated things, right? These are just like thoughts I have. Like, because once you go through something bad, you're like, okay, I got to figure out how to protect myself from that in the future.
Yeah,
Whatever, like,
not let it happen again.
yeah, like if you're working out, right? You hurt your back or your hips at one point. You're like, wait, I gotta do some rehab and strengthen this and maybe fix my form a bit, right? So you don't go down that path again. This is the same
Listen,
approach.
I've had a bad hip and knee for a long time. I know exactly what you're talking about when you converge the human body.
Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to relate it that way because when I'm doing this way, people think, oh, PTSD. I'm like, I really think like after going through this journey, I do believe there's an out. Like I do believe like you don't have it for the rest of your life. Like you can if you want to, right? If it becomes part of your identity, just like everything, it can
That's a
be,
big one.
right?
That's as soon as anything becomes a piece of your identity, it
Yeah,
is become bigger than it ever probably was meant to be.
yeah. And you know what? Maybe at one point, let's rephrase it because I'm gonna say at one point for me, because I shared with you, they put me on meds. I got every side effect. Okay, that was worse for me than the PTSD in some aspects. Okay, and then I was bedridden before I met you guys, right?
Hmm.
So I actually bought an adjustable bed just to help me get up, right? And that was for I needed to use that for approximately a year and a half at least, just to get right.
Crazy.
And like I'd be have good days, but sometimes I'd wake up. I'm like, I can't, fuck, I can't move. I use the bed to prop me up so I can kind of roll out of the bed a little bit,
Hmm.
and then so at some point it can be the biggest thing in your life. But as things get better, sometimes you still think it's the biggest thing in your life when it's like down here now, right? Because one thing that sucks about when you go through anything, let's say you hurt your back. Let's not use PTSD. Let's just say you hurt your back. You don't
Hmm.
talk, man, my back sore again. Next time you talk about, yeah, I'm working on this. And you're doing a positive thing. I'm doing this rehab stuff to fix my back so I can reduce the pain and everything. Next thing you say, yeah, you know what? I had to buy this thing, this machine, because it's the next evolution of fixing whatever I tweaked in my back, right? Every time you talk to somebody, it's your back is fucked up, right?
Hmm.
So you get the identity even externally that you're the guy with a bad back. But it's easier to say my back is sore. It's easier to say for me, PTSD is an umbrella term for a bunch of things because PTSD for me is different than PTSD for somebody else, right? So in conversation, it's fast to say, but when somebody outside's hearing it, they don't know that, oh, PTSD when it was 2020 is different than PTSD for me at 2022, different than PTSD 2023, right? Like, but the word is the same every time, right? So it's one of those things that it's the quick way to have the conversation, but to have the real conversation, each leg of like each time, let's say I met you once a year each time, then to understand what PTSD means now, we have to have like a 3 hour conversation of an update, right? But
Yeah.
do I want to do that after like me sorting things out? Like I'm like, you know what? You weren't part of it. Just take the snapshot and accept that it's better, right? So that's the best way I don't even know how to explain it any shorter than that. So that's the
I
best way I can explain it.
it works.
Yeah. So yeah, I forget like I couldn't even step up on to a curb without pain. Like I would like let me make sure I can make this. Let me like make sure I'm straight, parallel, and step on it.
Hmm.
Like yeah, and before I was like I was riding motorcycles. I got a motorcycle accident. I could do whatever the fuck. Like yeah, take risks and have fun. And luckily that some of that's coming back as I reduce the pain. Like I want to get some more things on the go. So like it's the one good thing about the reduction of the pain side of things is that I need less things to numb. Right, that includes
That's super
painkillers,
good.
that includes alcohol, that includes weed, because weed was prescribed to me with the PTSD, and weed now is so freaking strong. I need this like give me like CBD and a very little bit of THC before bed, and I'm happy. I don't need it more than that. Like it's strong, man. But when the pain was at its worst, the stronger the weed and painkillers, whatever, didn't bother me as much because it was actually covered masking that pain, right? So as the pain reduces, I definitely have a low tolerance, which I'm okay.
Is weed recreational in Canada?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can get it. There's weed shops everywhere.
Okay. I didn't know if it was
I got
just
prescribed
medical.
the no, I did prescribe medical because I'm like I wanted to see if there's a difference between the quality and whatnot or consistency. And in the beginning, I noticed a difference. Now I've noticed lots of consistency, and I get like the weakest stuff anyway because I don't want to have one puff and then be out of commission. I
Couch.
like to yeah, it's like one of those things. If it helped reduce pain, help me sleep, that's great. But I don't like when it just doesn't. It prevents me from talking. I don't like that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. All right. So I think this is a good way to approach things. Though we have to pick a topic or something comes in conversation, and then we have to
Hmm.
steel man it, whether we believe it or not.
It's gonna be a hard one, but yeah, no.
It's a little different, right? But it's basically
Yeah.
it's one way of expanding your thinking because it's putting yourself in other people's shoes, the side that maybe you don't support, right? And if anything, it can strengthen your resolve on your point of view. Maybe it's like, oh, I just poked the biggest hole in what I thought was real. I'm never going to believe that again. So, but I think that's a good way to approach it because like that makes the conversation very interesting.
Yeah. Definitely puts us where we have to think.
Yeah. All right. What's the next topic?
Me not sneezing? Nope, I'm good. All right.
There you go.
I actually just meant to ask you this the other day, but I completely forgot until now.
Right.
With you being involved in like real estate and everything, like how is everything going on in Canada affecting that, plus everything going on with Canada and the US together?
So overall, I was just having a talk with somebody else about the tariffs and all that recently, um, because I don't understand everything about it. I watched the one podcast, Flagrant podcast. They brought on
Hmm.
the billionaire Chamath on it, and they went back and forth, and he broke it down kind of pretty. He made it make a lot more sense about the tariffs and what's going on. Do I understand everything still? No. I would highly suggest watching that with about the tariffs to know better. But real estate wise, I think a lot of people are depending on the market. There's some like more people buying real estate again. There are definitely always deals around. If you know to look for a deal, there's a deal in any market.
Okay.
But I would say a lot of people aren't as active in real estate as they were in my cohort of friends and people that are in it, just because the election's coming up on the 28th, right?
I forgot you guys have your election
Yeah.
coming up.
So that election, depending on who gets in, is going to change the rules for buying and selling properties with how you're taxed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So there's going to be a potential of one where the Liberal government increased capital gains to, I believe, 66% from 50%. And how capital gains work, just so you know, is that it's the purchase price, how much appreciation, that's capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage pay down is not capital gains. Right? Obviously, if I'm mistaken, we'll double check and I will correct that. And the fast math they say is half of half because you're only taxed on 50%. So let's say if you make an exorbitant amount of money and you're in the highest tax bracket, you're going to get taxed close to 50%. So they say if they're going to look at 50% of the proceeds and only tax 50% of that. So 25% of the total proceeds is how much you pay in taxes. Okay? Okay. So they upped that to 66%, which half of that becomes 20, 30, I think
33.
32%, 33%, something like that, right? So 33%. So that's how much extra tax you have to pay if you sell not your primary residence now in Canada. There was talks with Liberal
So if you
government.
sell the primary, it doesn't work like that?
Yeah, in primary, you're exempt from capital gains currently. There was talk with the Liberal government that primary, they'll tax you as well, which, yeah. So conservatives, I guess, would be kind of like the Republicans, but not, right? Like conservative Canada is like, I would say, a blend of Democrats and Republicans in the States.
More like central.
And liberals are very much just Democrat side of the States. Okay? Because conservatives, yes, with what I see about Republicans in the States, there's vast differences in conservatives in Canada. Okay? Um, but again, I could be wrong, but that's what I see. All right? So if conservatives get in, there's potential for one, capital gains will go back to 50%. Who knows if there's going to be less than that? But on primary residence, there's still none. Then they're also bringing about a bill, which might be, if implemented, would be, let's say I have a second property, my rental property. If I sell a rental property, okay, that would be in the wheelhouse of getting capital gains tax. They're trying to do the same thing in the States. In the States, there's 1031. Have you heard of that before? So when you buy a property in the States, if you sell that property in the States and you buy another property of equal or more value, you can postpone your capital gains. So basically, you can invest all the proceeds in the next property. And my understanding is that that's if you're investing in the States again. But Canada doesn't have that. Conservatives wants to bring that so that if you sell something where there's capital gains and you reinvest in Canada, you're exempt from paying capital gains because you're reinvesting in the economy of Canada. So if that comes, that's going to be a big game changer because
So that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, because that's going to be get you. There are going to be people that are postponing retirement, liquidating properties. So that means there's going to be more properties for people to buy, right? And
Mm.
because they're not giving as much taxes, yes, there's going to be greedy people, but there's going to be a bunch of people that, well, I'm going to be able to keep more of this now, so they can sell it on like a for like not going to be getting it for away for free or anything, but there's more
No, but they
wiggle
can
room in
take.
negotiation,
Yeah.
right? Capital
Sounds like
gains
that'd
would
be a good
also
thing for Canada.
yeah, that would be a very good thing. That would be instead of like a lot of Canadians in uh, have been taking their money, investing in the States or abroad because of how things are structured here. This would,
Okay.
because of, let's say I told you 50% is capital gains, so 25% you give to the government. Imagine having an extra 25% just to reinvest in Canada. Like you don't have to worry about exchange rates. You don't have to worry about other countries charging absorbent amounts for interest rates on a mortgage. Have to buy a
Hmm.
place all cash, having a place in a different country, and worry about maintenance, right? But I didn't read the bill in its entirety or anything of that. But if it's involving all capital gains, that also means like if you have stocks, stock scope and price, that's a capital gains tax.
Mm.
So once you sell those shares, you normally have to pay tax on it. But if you reinvest that in Canada again, that would be really big for the stock market. And that would be really big for businesses outside of real estate, right? Because now, if I sold, let's say, we'll do two scenarios. I sold real estate. Now I have this lump sum of money I don't have to pay taxes on. I reinvest in Canada, buy more real estate. Or I can reinvest in Canadian private equity, Canadian startups, Canadian businesses on the TSX, not the NASDAQ, or not the New York Stock Exchange, but the Toronto Stock Exchange. Then reinvest in businesses in Canada. That would be another way for money to stay in the ecosystem and help Canadian businesses grow, right? So that would be huge in so many ways, because I think that would also, because if you do that, I think that's going to offset a lot of tariff stuff, because we're investing in Canada and we invest in businesses that are trying to produce in Canada and create in Canada. Yes, there's going to always be imports. Okay, that's every country now.
That every country is going to have that.
Exactly. So,
The
and then
global economy is basically said you can't do it not like that
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. But now, after watching that one podcast with Flagrant and Chamath, the billionaire, and I always say the last name wrong, so I'm not going to try. But it was very smart because he broke it down very simply that, like, there's a reason why this is happening. So the U.S. had these tariff agreements with a lot of different countries, and a lot of the times it was in favor of the other country. Okay, because U.S. is abundant, so they're letting things go and leak because they want to make sure other countries are involved in their ecosystem of economics. And again, I'm dumbing this down as well from what he said. So okay. So now they're tightening it up a bit because these other countries were getting a good deal. If you're getting a good deal, why would you argue? Right? So now, not Canada, sorry, the US is trying to be more stringent. Now, between China and US, that's a little bit more detailed, and I don't understand all the intricacies of that. But the rest of these places where they're getting a good deal, it's another way just to stop not useless spending, wasteful spending. Okay.
Makes
And
sense.
they're trying to just match it like tariff for tariff, but then there's going to be negotiation on top of that. Like, hey, we provide you these things. Can you give us a deal on these things that come our way? Right. So there's more talks going on than the surface level, whatever. Obviously, we'll never be privy to that.
Of
And
course.
then, yeah, and then with the China stuff, that one's very interesting because, like, the cost of an iPhone is like $17. So they get tariff, let's say, whatever amount on the $17. Let's say it goes to 100%. So now it is $28, 20 whatever. What's 17 plus 17? 28? No, that's 32. 34. 34.
34.
There you go. $34 per iPhone. They're still charging about 3 grand for the high end. So it doesn't change anything too much on that regard, unless Apple really doesn't want to absorb any costs. And they download it onto you, which will be an extra $40.
Yeah, I was like, that's a $40 purchase if you're spending three
Which,
k
if
on
you're
something
in
like
that
it's
ecosystem, are you not
insignificant.
going to buy an iPhone again?
Probably.
Right. So a lot of the stuff that's shipped from China over here, they can do the tariffs, and they can download it to the client that's buying it because of how cheap it is to build there or make there. So that regard, I don't think a lot of things are going to change from what I understood. So, but outside of that, I read somewhere recently, I think we shared it with each other, that I think China set a law that they will blatantly, copyright doesn't matter anymore over there.
Yeah. Which you told
And
me India's done that for a long time.
no, not a long time. They did it for pharma after COVID.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a whole thing that happened where the pharmacy companies, and again, I was reading, they made a documentary about this in India, and I was reading some other stuff where basically what Pfizer, all these companies were doing to every country, where they're saying that we can't be personally liable, you have to pay for the insurance for us, you have to do this for us, basically
Hmm.
everything in the favor of the corporation and not for the country. And India has its own thing going on with Britain and everything like that, because Britain was saying that we are supporting India, we shouldn't have to. And then India brought up, we're actually supporting you in different ways. And then this happened around 2023 June when India's GDP passed UK's GDP.
Okay, I
So,
remember
and then
seeing
after
that
that,
stat. I didn't know that it went
yeah, it
that
surpassed
deep.
it. And it's just been, since then, there's been a lot more stuff that I've witnessed in the news. Again, maybe it's one of those things that I think my algorithm, me being South Indian, more stuff pops up, even though I'm in Canada and I was born here and not from there. So I just kind of keep up with it because it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
But
You still have
again,
like a lot of family there too, though, don't you?
yeah, I have, so there, England, Dubai, and yeah, and India, and in the States. But like they mainly India, but a lot of people around wherever, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So it is interesting. Like the world politics, world economics is, I just always find interesting. I find, because like it's the modern thing. It's the modern version of empires and kings like fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
because that
It's done in a
culture.
really weird way now.
Well, I don't think it's anything. I think it's the exact same way as it was before, because like the people at the top tax the bottom, right? And now that it's just instead of having one family, they created a bureaucracy, which is a lot more people that costs a lot more money. And I think that's why
Mm-hmm.
taxes went up. But because in the States, didn't they fight over 3% taxes way back when? The T?
With the Boston Tea Party, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a 2% tax or something.
Yeah. So they fought back then, but basically the government was so small
Which,
that
like, granted, that wasn't that was like one of the like big straws, but like they were also sick of being ruled by somebody that doesn't understand how their life is anymore.
totally. But what I'm saying is
Yeah,
that was 3%. How much are you taking taxes now?
more than that.
Right? So if you think about it, like the structure is the same. And these are just like, I'm saying, I'm not an expert, make it very clear. I'm just spitballing here. The structure is the same. The hierarchy is the same. The top kind of taxes the bottom. The top says they're going to take care of you. I'm going to enslave you. I'm going to do whatever they decide to say. But there's a hierarchy, right? There's still a hierarchy. Now you're electing people in through democracy. They say, right? Democracy definition and the practice of it. Do I think it matches up? Probably not. But
No, that's why some people will be like, the U.S. doesn't have a democracy; they have a republic.
yeah, but in each republic is supposed to be a democracy. Yeah, but it's one of those things that I get what you're saying, but like every country says they're democracy, but whose definition of democracy is right then?
Yeah,
Right? So the definition of democracy is nice, but what's actually being applied, is it democracy? Is it not? I don't know. Is there another word that I'm not aware of that fits better? Maybe.
I'm not an expert.
I'm not either. But like if you think of the hierarchy that it is, there is a there is a ruling family, there's a governing class, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an elite class, or whatever the hell you want to call it. The bottom gets taxed, and they tax the top because we're going to protect you. We're going to provide you services. We're going to have the army so nothing happens to you. You can live in peace, right? So back then, when it was a single family, because a single family is small, 3% tax, right? Think of how big the U.S. government is, right? How many levels of police and sheriff and FBI and all these things you have. Then you have the HR staff. Then you have the people managing that. Then you have they're not government organizations, but they're not geo or like the whatever they're called. I think it's not geo.
National Geographic.
I'm wrong here. I know I'm wrong. Come on, percent there. But there's like basically the government will contract other companies that do for government. Like in the government
Yeah, yeah,
rules, you can't do certain things, so you hire it out, right?
yeah.
Technically they're not part of the government, but being paid by the government. That's all taxpayer money. So they're a government entity in a way, right? So it makes sense why taxes keep on going up because government keeps on getting bigger, right? And then now with you're in the States, it's fun to watch with Doge and finding all the wasteful money spending. And obviously some of it's good, some of it's bad, and we'll figure out what happens when it happens. All that taxpayer money now is like if I think a lot of the service in the U.S., if you just weren't wasting money outside, Canada's doing the same thing. To make it very clear, if you weren't wasting money outside, all that money that went inside the U.S. would be pretty fruitful, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big like pro pushes for all the Doge stuff is like, look at all the money that can go back into the U.S. Like all these states and everything that complain about their roads are terrible. Here, now we have funds.
But on a higher level, because a lot of people look in their community at a higher level, the U.S. is just like the Canada, just like other countries. There's a bunch of debt that they're carrying, right?
Yeah.
So the tariffs will again. Somebody has said this. It might have been the Flagrant podcast. I was talking to my friend Dale early this morning, but basically, the tariffs is making the market go down. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Market goes down. There's some correlation with interest rates going down, which makes the debt that a service is less. And at the same time, Doge is trying to cut spending and save money and all these different things. And if they actually cut the spending, that they're wasteful spending, and apply to the principal of the loan, there is a really good chance that the debt being serviced will actually go down.
Okay.
Okay. And that debt going down is very good because a lot of the borrowed money, I don't even think is serviced by tax dollars. I think they just keep on going back to the central bank and they keep on just renewing the loan, which is just like you can't do that forever because that's hyperinflation. You should look up.
Yeah, it was like if they just keep borrowing from themselves, it's just gonna
Yeah, you should look up. I think it's Zimbabwe and was it Argentina or Venezuela? You should look up.
Venezuela where they made their money worth nothing.
Yeah, so that's hyperinflation, right? So it starts off with like you bought bacon for $2 before, now it's $6, right? And people like, oh, we can get by, but it keeps on going. Then what you're going to do, right? Businesses will shut down. Everything's good. Like you need people to have disposable money just to even go to restaurants, right? Or even coffee shops, right? Because what will happen, like you'll have coffee at home, then coffee people just will stop having coffee, right? Like that's what will happen. So you can't keep on doing the hyperinflation thing. That's going to be detrimental. But the flip side of it is that China's economy and a lot of other economies are dependent on the U.S. and I would say Canada as well, but way smaller. We're too small. It doesn't matter as much. The U.S. is big enough that you guys are consumers. That the economics is that like a lot of what's going on in China and the growth that they have is because of you guys consuming enough for it to afford it. But if you look at the how much like the iPhone, like I just said, $17 and they're selling for 3 grand. Who's making the money? China's not making the money. We're spending the money. The corporation between is making the money, right? Unless they figure out a way and they pass a law that, okay, tariffs go up and you have to, as a company, absorb it now, that might change a lot of things. But again,
Be an interesting one to see passed.
again, it's one of those things I don't think it'll happen. I really don't think it's going to happen.
No, I firmly believe like there's no way because
Yeah. But the thing is, if I just threw those numbers out of 17 to 34 and they absorbed it, okay. But what are they going to do? They'll make it some back some other way.
yeah. I mean, did you see the story the other day about like apparently Apple bought out like two or three like regular passenger planes to ship iPhones instead of shipping them like the regular way to help avoid tariffs?
Interesting.
I'll see if I can find the story again.
I'll
It
let you
just
see
popped
that
up on my Instagram the other day.
I wonder how that works. 'Cause technically, wouldn't that be illegal? Because like if I go on a plane to the States and I have to come back, I have to declare stuff,
Yeah,
right? Like if we go to another country, we have to declare it. So how do they get away with not declaring it? Or
I
would
don't
it
know.
be one of those things that they declare it and just puts the bill down the line so that they can get the phones at the door faster?
I don't know. Like I said, it just popped up like
Yeah,
on
definitely
like
check it out because
Instagram or
I'd like to
something. And
read
I
more on that.
was like, hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to read more on that. That would be interesting. Again, I don't know everything, but hopefully what I explained made sense.
It made more sense than me not having any of the knowledge.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't even know where to look. Right?
I had zero idea where to look. Like this tariffs have not been a big conversation in my lifetime that I can think of.
No, but
Like
yeah,
it's been one of those like I know they existed, but like
yeah, and again, it doesn't affect as many people as like it affects a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, it really does because like a lot of our stuff is made in China, right?
mhm,
But it doesn't affect as many people on the day to day lives to a level that they're even aware that they're there, right? But like with how much electronics and chips and everything that we have come from China, it is going to affect us pretty badly, right? It's one of those things that I always find interesting. Like, let's say we buy all this from China, okay, cool. If we had better recycling over here, as in I drop off my phone, then that company strips every chip and every resistor and everything in that phone, every screen, and repurposes it locally. Like I'm sure a bunch of those chips and stuff could be used in so many applications that don't need to be top of the line. You know what I mean? Like
probably.
yeah, like if we had proper recycling where okay, let's say we are buying stuff from China all the time. They're creating everything. Okay. But every single phone and computer that has to be disposed of, instead of being thrown in a landfill, you actually have a company that properly breaks everything down and maybe repurposes all that stuff, not for the brand new phone, the brand new this, but you could probably use the Wi Fi chip and the Bluetooth chip in your cell phone for a number of years in a number of applications, right?
Probably.
You probably could take
I'm
the
actually surprised
camera.
it's not a thing.
Yeah, you can take the camera and repurpose that camera and make like point and shoot small things for kids. Like you
Hmm.
could probably do so many things if you had the just the ability to repurpose what we already buy, right? If they just had that, like, it'd be huge.
Yeah, but I mean, we also treat technology like we treat fast fashion.
Well, but I think that's to our advantage. If we actually had, so if we treat it like fast fashion, and then every year we update it, then even if this phone, Google Pixel, I have like an old one, but Google Pixel, and I give it to you, and I upgrade to the new one, and they repurpose everything. It's only a year old, the tech in here, and they repurpose this for whatever else they want to. Things that I'm not even aware of. Like, if you could repurpose the chips, the resistors, or whatever, so that it's not a phone anymore, it's going to be used in 3D printing. It's going to be used in
Okay.
whatever. Right? I mean, right? Like, it's going to be used. There's a flash in there. The flash could be used for something else. It could be used as like, here's a random thought. Somebody that's deaf, right? The doorbell sound means nothing to them. But if they had these flash things for dirt cheap, we hit the doorbell and it flashes inside the house, they know somebody's at the door, right? A lot of people replace their phone every year. I try to replace my phone every 2 years, right? But a lot of people
Oh man, I
every
wait
year.
way longer than that.
I did 2 3 years. That's what my max. Because I dropped my phone so much that I needed by 3 years. Like my camera's like barely working now. So
That's fair. I am somehow lucky. I don't really damage my phone too often.
yeah. See, I buy the cheapest case and I don't put screen protectors on. I don't like how it feels on my finger.
So I do use screen protectors. That's the
Well,
one
iPhones you
one
have
thing
to
that
because iPhone glass is horrible.
Samsung Glass wasn't much better for my other friends that all also use screen protectors.
Really, I've been having Pixels for the last like 4 or 5 phones, and I don't have screen. I just like throw my phone. Nothing breaks. Right?
You just said your camera doesn't work anymore.
Well,
You
the
can't say
camera, the
nothing
front works.
breaks.
The front works, but
The Pixel's entire selling point is its camera.
well, 3 years is pretty good. Like what I do is like I have a Pixel 6. Okay, when I'm going to upgrade this, the 10 is out. I'm upgrading to 7
Okay.
because I don't even like I like the amount of improvement in technology is impressive, but it doesn't have any bearing on me that how I use the phone because
Yeah.
I'd rather
Plus,
be
like,
on my computer or desktop on a bigger
yeah.
screen to do a lot of things.
Plus, like year to year, I don't believe that there's that much improvement. That's why, like,
Not
I'll typically try
anymore.
to wait. Yeah, I'll typically
When
try to
it
wait like
was,
three or
I was like,
four.
okay, I need the new phone because the OS was outpacing the memory, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's one of those things that like yes, okay, China has all the tech, whatever. We don't have any facilities to make chips and whatever. But why don't we just, okay, if it's going to take forever to make chips, I'm sure it's going to be a lot cheaper and easier to get a warehouse and employees and figure out how to tear these things apart so you have all these chips to repurpose,
Hmm.
right? Because in the beginning, it might be one of those things that you got to do by hand. But if you're repurposing them and you have enough people, then I'm sure there's a way to bring technology in to speed the process up too.
Yeah. Plus, I think, don't quote me on this. I think the U.S. has been building like a chip manufacturing place, like in Arizona.
Yeah, but they're going to still be 5 years behind every because like while they're building it, Taiwan and China, I think China is like
Taiwan is a big one for
yeah.
microchips.
So basically, with how fast they're improving, by the time they have the facility bit, it'll be out of date, right? So they're going to be
I didn't
U.S.
think
There's
about
going to
that.
be yeah, there's going to be a bunch of catch up time there too, right? Because they are just you have the facility, but they're going to keep on progressing while you're building. And maybe the equipment you have is going to be like this might be out of date for certain things now,
Hmm.
right? Because like the cost of stuff's going to go up. But all I'm just saying is that they should do that. You need to do that. Everywhere needs to do that. Canada needs to do that. But if we're buying these phones that are amazing, that work really well, why not? And I'm saying phones right now, okay? But like,
Yeah.
there's so many other things. There's TVs. Think of all the innards
All
of a
smart
TV.
TVs now?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
the innards of a TV. Your Alexa devices, your Google Home devices, your old DSLR cameras. Whereas again, there's a market that people buy them on like Kijiji or Craigslist or eBay or whatever. But I think there's like this is just let's say I had like a lot of people. Pixel 10's coming out, Pixel 9, iPhone whatever's coming out, the old one. There's people that are first day getting a new one
Oh,
every
yeah.
single time. That old phone, if 1 year old, right? You could do so much with that. You could literally get some
See,
old
now you
phone.
make me wonder, like, why this isn't a thing yet.
Yeah. Like if it was 1 year old, especially like we just said, year to year, there's not much difference anymore for phones and stuff. If I give the phone 1 year old and I gave it to somebody locally, they want to strip it down or they delete Google from it completely and they put some other OS on it that is lighter weight that makes this phone have another 5 years of life and resell it for a discount, right? Yeah, that's all I
You
like.
see, now you just got me wondering like why that doesn't exist.
Old laptops too, old computers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that it's going to be the newest technology forever, but I bought this desktop like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It's
Yeah, it's
still
probably still just fine.
I have 3 screens going on to it. I just upgraded the RAM like 2 years ago. I have more memory than I need. It's not the fastest anymore, but like the for this Riverside stuff or CapCut, this is more than fast enough. I can click and walk away. It does its stuff.
Hmm.
It might not be like instantaneous, but it does a pretty good job, right? It's one of those things like this lasted that long. So if this technology lasts long, there's people that will not keep this technology that long. They'll upgrade all the time. For
For
those
sure.
people that have the one that goes to the waste and whatever and recycling that doesn't exist, right? Because there's been like some not studies, there's been some exposés about how recycling doesn't really go to recycling plants at the time. So there's a lot of tech and chips and stuff that could be repurposed for other things. And if we did that, okay, we're a year behind. They're still making all the chips and whatever. We can reuse everything. And let's say a chip is slower than another one. I'm sure people smarter than me is like, okay, let's get two of the same chip and run them in parallel or series or whatever it is that people do and make it run just as fast or comparable, maybe not for military applications, but maybe for everyday use.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have your next startup idea.
I've already tried enough. I need to. I only have limited money. That's all. So I can't do that. One day when I'm filthy rich. One day.
What
All
does
right.
Canada actually like make?
Well, we do a lot of natural resources, and a lot of it shipped to the states. Actually, I think certain states get most of their power from Canada,
Wow, okay.
and that's technically something that can be tariffed. Right? So that's why there's like a very good relationship between Canada and the states. So it's interesting. Oh, another thing also, if conservatives get in power instead of liberals, then there's a chance for opening up a pipeline deal between U.S. and Canada again, and that will bring more
Okay.
jobs and more things to us instead of having to work on using other people's oil and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if the conservatives get in, they want to work more with the current administration.
Well, more in general, I think they want to work more worldwide, not just currently, not just U.S. Sorry, because like another thing was a speech recently I saw, I believe it was recent anyway, within the last 2 months anyway, is that you know how they have the carbon tax and they're like, oh, emissions, they talk about all the time. The U.S.
Yeah.
doesn't have any carbon tax or anything going on with emissions.
Not
Canada,
currently.
not currently, but Canada does, and we have more trees, and all the trees offset our emissions more than how much
Yeah, I
we
was
waste.
gonna say you guys should be in nearly negative.
We are negative, okay? And they're trying to make us constrict our own. And then the conservative actually said something really smart, which is like a worldwide thing, which is something that I've talked with somebody else about before. Is like countries like India, very poor air quality, right? And China in certain areas too, very poor air quality. Way better now, but like very poor air quality. If Canada sells its natural gas to India, so India gets off of coal, that in itself will reduce more emissions than Canada as a whole creates. 3 times over.
Wow.
Three
Okay.
times over.
That's insane.
Right? So,
India's still primarily on coal.
yep. Remember, like
That.
they are behind because like the British left, so they're like what I would say what the North America was in after World War II, where the crazy growth.
Okay.
I think India is in that stage where they're growing, so they're using whatever they have.
Oh, that'll be interesting then.
Right? So the idea of approaching emissions instead of country by country, but as a whole in the world, is the thing that makes more sense because while US, while Canada, while all the Western countries were growing and burning coal and polluting everywhere, and the other countries didn't have anything to, didn't have coal plants back then, they had nothing, right? Now India and all these other countries are starting to use coal and are growing as well and putting polluting like crazy. And now other people that have done it are looking down on them, saying that, oh, you shouldn't do it. Well, how
That's
did
the
you
way it
get
always
here?
works.
Yeah, but how did you get here? You got here burning coal, polluting the environment, and killing everything, right? So the way to expedite the reduction of emissions from other countries is sharing of technologies that will improve it,
Hmm.
not hoarding it, right? So on the very base level is like, okay, let's change the source of fuel that you are burning. On the higher level is let's have these plants that are burning these sources of fuel more efficient. On a higher level from that, let's go to nuclear, right? So, but it's one of those things that each country doesn't want to share; they just want to tell, right?
Yeah. The only time nuclear ever even gets brought up is like, well, this is why it's dangerous. Like, well,
Well, you know what? Like in the beginning, sure, it was very dangerous, but like
yeah.
if you look at the improvements and how it is so safe now. They even have ways to do it with nuclear waste, not actually something that's super active. That's really bad.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then
No, they're
it's one
much
of those
better
things.
about using the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that okay, so they use the whole thing. The plants are a lot safer, the energy is a lot cleaner. Then it comes down to okay, the safer it gets, the more they do that. Then it's the security around these places because they don't want people stealing stuff.
Yeah, security and maintenance.
Yeah, but think about if you had all that clean energy for all those houses, it'd be amazing. All right, so and there's another thing. Okay, we've been talking for over an hour, but you should look this up. Earth batteries. It's something I just researched. I just stumbled upon it, and it's basically my understanding is big, lots of dirt basically is holding heat or something, and that's how they the difference in temperature is how they create some type of electrical charge, and it's like a power source. Very above my understanding. I just kind of happened upon it, just like skimmed it a little bit. Thought it was really interesting though, so I'll share that. So
Yeah, I'll run it down. I'll have to check that out because it sounds so to the level of like this is made up that like, oh, I'm super interested because like if it's not fake, what?
have you heard of Earth Homes?
I mean, I've heard of like basically. Tell me if this isn't the right thing, but like a home that's kind of built into a hillside that like helps
Yeah,
insulate it.
yeah,
Okay.
because like they say, because the ground retains the heat through the night and the daytime, that stabilizes
Hmm.
the heat in the home. I think
Yeah.
there's some overlap with that approach for an Earth home to an Earth battery.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's on such a large scale that I couldn't understand it. Well, I have to watch it a little bit more. But it's very interesting because like, these places are making these big batteries, and like, they're even in China. They're like underground drilling and making like a water reservoir off of a lake, and because the weight of the water forces it through this small hole, it spins a turbine that charges a battery,
Yeah.
right? And then when this gets filled and is leveled out, they can block that hole and open up another hole where another turbine gets filled and the water kind of reconnects with the main water body source. They're
So it's kind of
forced,
an endless loop.
yeah. So it has to go this way first, and then they'll have to go this way afterwards. So there has to be like some breaks in there. It's not endless
Hmm.
as one continuous like motion, but yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know a chunk of the Central Valley of California, like they use hydroelectric for a lot of their energy.
Yeah, yeah. That's also
So
very interesting. Like the year when they built that, like you go back and look at technology back then, that is impressive.
yeah, it's just like how do you guys figure this out?
Yeah, probably not wasting their chips something, so I'm throwing in the garbage. All right, man. I'm gonna hit stop and we will check again.